Hello and welcome to the Silver King's War. I'm Michael Sievers, the writer, producer, and creator of this podcast series about my father's Second World War as a B-26 bombardier. Today we begin the final play in this series, which is entitled Who is Della? And it begins with the introduction. This play, Who is Della, is about a woman, Della Martin, who was the older sister of Glenn L. Martin, an American industrialist. Della, born in 1883 to Clarence and Arminta Martin in Macksburg, Iowa, had a complex life that is a remarkable story. The Martin family, after Glenn was born in 1886, lived in Iowa, Kansas, and California, as Clarence sold farm equipment and automobiles and Arminta sought warmer weather. They purchased an apricot ranch in Santa Ana, California in 1905. Glenn Martin, who never married and lived with his mother, Minta, in Baltimore's exclusive Guilford neighborhood until her death in 1953, left a multi-million-dollar estate to his sister. Martin's sister Della, his older and only sibling and heir, was alive and living in a California state hospital. She was 73 and had lived at Patton State Hospital since 1911. Built in 1890 in San Bernardino County, California, the hospital was known as the Insane Asylum. Della Martin, 28 and living with the family in Santa Ana, was emotionally unstable, possibly suffering from schizophrenia. Her family struggled with Della's illness. Mother Minta, who was fully committed to Glenn's career and future, arranged for the Martin family physician to declare Della mentally ill, a religious fanatic, and place her in Patton State Hospital. Clarence and Glenn Martin were selling cars, Fords and Maxwells, from a downtown Santa Ana dealership. Their money and spare parts fueled Glenn's plane construction. The Martins weren't agrarian, but knew that personal transportation offered a future, and Glenn, 20, became a local Maxwell mechanic and secured a $700 bank loan with his father. 3 years later, Glenn Martin was building a second airplane. The Martins were making money, but Glenn wanted to fly. He knew the Wright brothers' story and wrote them a letter asking for permission to follow their design. Orville sent Glenn the approval. Glenn Martin, accompanied by his mother, rose to fame and fortune as an American aviation industrialist. They left Clarence, Della, and Santa Ana to live in Cleveland, Washington, D.C., and Baltimore. Della Martin spent 45 years in Patton State Hospital. Her brother died at 69 after a cerebral hemorrhage on his Maryland's Eastern Shore farm. His estate in the millions made Della wealthy. Della left institutional life at 74, and after a thoughtful residential transition in Pasadena's Huntington Memorial Hospital, lived in a private home until her death in 1974 at 90. Her estate became the basis for the Della Martin Foundation in Los Angeles, California, which has underwritten academic research in mental health since 1975. Della Martin narrates segments of this play as an observer of her life, and she begins her role by reading a 2020 poem by Kelly Sievers entitled, I Am Della. This is the play, Who is Della?